All right, we're going to move on to the topic of civil unrest. Just a friendly reminder to try really hard to answer the question that's asked of you. That's why we're here. Governor Inslee, the first question is going to go to you. Nearly 2 days after demonstrators took over an area outside the Seattle Police Department's East Precinct, dubbing it an autonomous zone, you claimed not to know about it, despite it being the subject of nonstop local and national news coverage, despite it trending nationwide on Twitter. What should voters make of the fact that you were apparently oblivious to police abandoning an entire precinct in the state's largest city? You have 1 minute, 15 seconds.
Yeah, well, listen, if you look at the facts of that situation, I could not have been oblivious to it because I actually deployed the Washington State National Guard.
Sir, then why do you say you did not know about it?
You'll have to go back and look at some quote. I can't comment on the quote right now, but I can tell you that what we did is to respond when cities, and the cities, of course, are the ones responsible for their initial security, and we support the cities. And when they asked us to send the National Guard, we responded promptly, and we sent the National Guard, I believe in the hundreds. When they asked for assistance from the Washington State Patrol, our Washington State Patrol went. In fact, our Washington State Patrol was ready, and I had cleared this decision when the decision was made by the city to bring back police forces into that area. And they were ready, they were staged, in fact, if they were needed. So it is clear that we did provide support as appropriate. But this is a very frustrating situation, I'll tell you why. You had tens of thousands of people peacefully protesting, tens of thousands of people marching without breaking windows, without starting fires. And in their midst, these folks came in and caused violence. And it was very frustrating to those who believe this is a righteous cause, but don't want to see this violence. This violence is unacceptable to all of us from any source, and it should stop.
Just so I'm clear, Governor, because I feel like I need to address that with you right now. Your quote was, "This is news to me." You went on to say, "I haven't heard about it from any credible source," nearly 2 days after CHOP happened. You're now saying you did know about CHOP.
Listen, I can't tell you. I knew about CHOP. That's why we had state troopers ready to respond at the city's request. So if I made a misstatement, I made a misstatement. But clearly I did. That's why we sent troops. So this was something we did respond to Seattle's request. And
okay, we'll follow back up on that, sir. I'll give you time for rebuttal to Chief CULP. Chief CULP, on the topic of civil unrest, 1 minute, 15 seconds. We're talking about the nightly protests Seattle dealt with, at times riots over the summer. Washington leaders, including the governor, pushed back at the idea of federal intervention when it was suggested by the president. If elected governor, under what specific conditions, would you support the presence of federal forces on local streets in response to civil unrest?
Right. We currently have a governor that's very soft on crime. That's obvious. He doesn't know that crimes are being happened, that parts of Seattle have been taken over. And I saw him in that live conference. It was clear that he had no clue what was going on, or he was lying, or one or the other. And yes, he did send in the National Guard. You know, and we all have a right to peaceably assemble and speak our mind, right? That's our First Amendment right. But when it turns violent, when people start looting stores, when they light buildings on fire, cars on fire, and throw rocks and frozen water bottles at our police, that's no longer a First Amendment right. That's a crime. It's called rioting. And although the governor did send in troops, the National Guard, you know, because the governor is the commander-in-chief of the Washington State National Guard, he sent them in there at the request of local law enforcement, but he disarmed them before he sent them in. I will never, ever send our young men and women in uniform into a violent situation without the means to protect themselves and other people. That's what they're going in there for. And when people are committing crimes, the National Guard will assist the local law enforcement to arrest the criminals and put them in jail where they belong. And the rest of the people that are involved in it will be told to disperse because it is a riot. And if they do not disperse, they will be arrested as well. That's how you deal with crime. That's how you shut down a riot.
Okay, Chief, I'll follow back up with you on the question I had asked about federal intervention here in your rebuttal time. Governor Inslee, in your rebuttal time, quickly, was it your decision not to arm the National Guard? Because I recall it as the governor or as the mayor's decision. And also, do you support the federal prosecution of accused rioters, such as people who assault police officers or burn down buildings? 45 seconds.
Yes, I do support prosecution of anyone involved in violent activity that is a crime. I used to prosecute drunk driving cases and spousal abuses cases, and so I do support that. These were decisions that are led by the democratically elected officials in the cities. We sent help not only to Seattle, we sent State Patrol to Spokane, I believe to Bellevue, so we have helped in numerous cities during these difficult times. And they have acted appropriately. General Dougherty, who I think is a fantastic general, he has helped me in many, many emergencies like Oso and the bridge falling down. He does a great job. And what he told me was, we do not, and he did not want firearms. He did not believe that more firearms was the answer to sort of magnify and give potential violence to this situation. And fortunately, no one was hurt of the armed guard, because I respect these people. They do fantastic work. And so we want to continue to follow the law. And by the way, we're on the following the law. Excuse me. Do I have 45 seconds? Excuse me, Brandy.
Yes, your 45 seconds ran out. If you want to
I'm sorry.
Finish off on 1 second. If you want to finish
It's a little curious to me that we have a police officer consciously violating the law, refusing to enforce gun safety laws, and then say the answer is more guns on our streets.
All right,
we need people to follow the law.
I want to give you a 45-second rebuttal, and why don't you respond to what the governor just said right there? Because there are voter-approved gun control measures, the mandates that courts have upheld that the governor put down that you refuse to follow. Is it law and order for everybody else, but not for you? 45 seconds.
Police officers have discretion to enforce or not enforce. You ever get pulled over and not get a ticket? Police officers have discretion. Chiefs of police and sheriffs have discretion on what their departments are going to enforce, what they're going to focus on, whether it's drug crime, sex trafficking, or speeding. That's up to the discretion of the chief law enforcement in that agency. And for me to make that decision is based on the Washington State Constitution, which you, Governor, raised your right hand and took an oath to uphold and defend. Have you ever heard of Article 1, Section 24? The right of the individual citizen to bear arms in defense of himself or the state shall not be impaired. I'm sure that you can understand that. If not, maybe your grandkids can tell you, sir.
All right.
Well, if you'd like me to answer that question, I will.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're out of time on this topic. Over to Chris Daniels.